everything's basically on hold because no one knows what's going on. You have the pandemic, protesting, systemic injustice. There's just a lot going on right now. And I want to hear from all of you, and I guess we could start with Phil, kind of work backwards again, how this is impacting your business and what do you see in the real estate world and how you kind of, what's happening with everything right now.
I'll try and make this as concise as I absolutely can, although it's it's an excellent question. It has some degree of complexities to it. Number one, real estate as a whole industry has been affected by COVID. Obviously, there's some, as you know, Charlie, as you just mentioned with office, the number one's asset classes within real estate have been hurt like crazy is, of course, retail, hospitality, hotels, and office. And I think you're going to see, I think you're going to see the impact isn't felt right now is going to be when these landlords eventually have to foreclose. So I think you're going to see a second wave, if you will, economically of people being hurt 12 to 18 months from now when the foreclosures really start to hit. So that's on one end. And of course, on the residential side, those who had existing tenants are going to be hurt also because tenants, from what I understand, will have to pay for the next 12 months, whereas the banks only give you 90 days of sort of a leash. Now, what has this done to us? Because we're developing and we have 4 active complexes that we're developing, they don't actually have tenants right now. So by the time that all this is over, we will be delivering products to market. Our AI complex by Tempo is halfway done. By the time that it gets ready to go to market, things should be back to normal. So so what this has done for us is create a lot of opportunity from the standpoint of deals that we were trying to chase last year, particularly around Philadelphia, because again, real estate is a stable asset class. So anybody that's conservative money would want to go into a core stable asset class like that. And now when there's uncertainty, that's when people want to get out. So at least this is what I've seen for me personally. It can be different for other people. Again, there's submarkets and asset classes that differ. Now for us, it created a lot of opportunities. We have new projects we're bidding on. We have another one that our group has put another one on contract. So it's really, selfishly, it's exciting from that standpoint for us because again, we've built everything all equity. So we're very well positioned to take advantage of that. So for us, it's been a boom. But we're also in one of the asset classes, or one of the business models that can never be disrupted, which is shelter. So for us, it's been as horrible as it sounds on the macro level, but it's been wonderful for us.
Sure. Drew, how about yourself? I mean, you have people trading investments in real assets right now. I mean, what are you seeing in the market?
So it's really interesting. I sort of share Phil's sentiment where it actually provides a whole bunch of opportunities since you have even the most institutional investors who have now taken a 180 where credit has dried up. There's a whole bunch of uncertainty and there is going to be a lag. I mean, real estate lags in general, just as an industry. And so even though like office rents in Manhattan have still come in at between 85 and 90%, retail has been hit much harder. And so most real estate owners are reevaluating and they're still not quite sure where this is all going to end up. And also it's going to affect not only pricing of assets, but also the leasing of space. Where is multifamily going to be? And so even new developments are sort of being questioned where it's like they underwrote certain pro forma numbers. And is that going to be the same in 12 months? And it's actually forced them to be a lot more open to new innovations and new ways of viewing their portfolios and how they play both offense and defense. So business has been good, except I would trade it for not having COVID happen in the first place.
I think so. Moving on to Andrew, I mean, you're investing more so in the technology companies that have to do with real estate, and Phil and Drew kind of broke down the current market. So what are you seeing on the investment side with these real estate companies?
Yeah, sure. I was going to say, like, when it comes to the market outlook, I usually I'm going to ask you, Charlie, right?
Sure.
I'll ask the other guys that, the other companies in our customer network that we use to introduce to our startups. And I'm hearing basically the same thing. As far as my world, like, in the venture world, you've got committed capital. Like our investors, our LPs, have to make capital calls. So short of the world collapsing, them actually defaulting on those obligations, we have money to invest. And what we've learned in past cycles is when the market is, down for startups, it's actually a really good time to be in venture. A lot of the strategic money, a lot of the dumb money is now on the sidelines. Like I don't see a lot of large real estate families who are dabbling in startups suddenly investing in startups now. They're all worried about what's going to happen, who's going to make rent next month. So that money dries up, which means valuations become a little more favorable to us. It also means that the startups that we invest in will, on the margin, face less competition, because those other companies are like, maybe could make it, maybe couldn't make it. They're not going to make it when money's tighter. So what we found, this is going back all the way to 2008, 2009, some of our best investments come at times like this, which is a really long-winded way of saying, yes, we have money and we're investing.
Well, let's stick with you, Andrew. I mean, you were talking about possible recession coming up, recovery time, and how you're taking advantage of it. I mean, what have you seen in the past, and like what I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you were to kind of, with Cushman & Wakefield, we're talking about possibly 12 months to 18 months of some sort of dip in recovery time. CBRE, our number one competition, is predicting a little bit less, probably 12 to 14 months or something like that. But I mean, what are you seeing with recovery time, not so much in the real estate market, but in the general, aspect of the economy?
So I live in this weird sort of bubble with none of my investments are actually expected to be profitable. So they're not going to be profitable now. The difference really is, are they going to survive and make it to the next milestone? So I think about the world in a kind of, sorry, I caught myself. I'm not sure if this is an F-bomb friendly show. I'm in a kind of screwed up world, right? So what that means is that when I talk to the startups, I really ask them to consider the world through three lenses. It's like, number one, they need to know this new normal, whether it's 12 months or 18 months out there, is that better, worse, or about the same for their startup? And for many of them, since they're on the cutting edge of a lot of trends, their biggest challenge has been to find the customers who are more willing to embrace rather than fight these trends. And in some areas, like COVID's obliterated the resistance, like distance work, distance learning, telemedicine. All the customers were like, I'm not sure if we can make that work. We're going to sit that out. Like, that's done. They're doing it. So the future for those companies is really rosy. For many of the startups we're in, it's about the same. It'll go back. It's kind of a wash. We're not in any asset-heavy industries like co-working or co-living. So there's nothing in our portfolio really where like the long-term is bleaker than it was. So number one, I ask them, like, what's the long-term going to be like? Number two, I ask them, how do you make it to that long-term? And as a rule of thumb, I'm saying you need 12 months of runway, right? Whatever your revenues are, slashed, whatever your costs are, as low as you can bring them, like, can you get to 12 months? And sometimes that means raising an inside round to get there. And that's where, you were asking me about, like, what am I seeing? 12 months plus or minus. Different parts of the country, different industries will vary. On the construction tech side, for instance, there's not a lot of impact. It's an essential services. In some cases, they're selling faster than ever because a lot of their product makes the job more efficient, lets you do it remotely. In prop tech, again, it depends on who you're dealing with, and what part of the country you're selling to primarily. But I use 12 months as a good rule of thumb. And just to wrap it off, the third thing I talk to my startups about is, in this environment, is there a way to make lemonade out of lemons? Meaning, is there something about your product or service that's suddenly more relevant and more saleable than it was before? But we can get into that a little later because I don't like talking for 5 minutes straight. I want to share the air.